Hello everybody and welcome to a rather strange video that I wanted to make for a few years, but I was never quite sure how to go about doing it. So today we are going to answer the question of, is Warframe worth playing in the current year, which at the moment is 2022? The short answer to that is yes. Warframe is an incredibly expansive free-to-play game that will provide you with many hours of fun content without restricting you too much. If you're straight up a free-to-play player and you never buy any platinum, which is the premium currency for Warframe, it's essentially just gonna waste more of your time by having you wait for crafting times. That's pretty much it. Now don't get me wrong, the crafting times in Warframe can sometimes be absolutely obscene, with you having to wait multiple days to craft a single item, but on the other hand, the main currency used for trading between players is platinum, which is the premium currency, so if you just farm some stuff in game and then sell it to other people, you can easily avoid all the free-to-play nonsense. So as far as the monetization goes, it's not too bad. It's mostly focused on cosmetics and primed access, which is a system where whenever a new primed frame comes out, you can buy it outright with real money with all of its weapons and accessories. You generally don't need to do this though, because whenever a new frame does come out, everyone's gonna be farming it, so you can join up with them. There's plenty of squads roaming around, and you can even make yourself a little bit of platinum, because in the first few days of a new primed frame coming out, the parts are generally pretty expensive. And that's pretty much the monetization out of the way. I wanted to cover it first because I feel like whenever you're looking to get into a new free-to-play game, that's kind of the thing you're most worried about. But Warframe has always been pretty good in this regard. Now, just in case you've stumbled into this video randomly and you're not familiar with my content and you're wondering to yourself, well, why should I listen to you, internet man, about this free-to-play game that I'm trying to get into? Well, I've been playing Warframe since 2013. I've sunk over 5,000 hours into it, and I've made about 1,500 videos about it. So at this point, I feel like, okay, I think I can finally talk about this, alright? The next thing one might be worried about when trying to get into a new game, especially a free-to-play game, would be the state of the game. What are the player numbers like? How often is it updated? And how much actual relevant content does it provide? The player numbers, a little bit difficult to tell. On Steam, it averages around 40,000 players every day, which is actually very good, especially since the game is also on Xbox, PlayStation, and Switch, so the player numbers are significantly higher. This is especially relevant since the developers are pushing towards crossplay, so in hopefully the near future, you'll be able to play with everyone regardless of their platform. But even on PC alone, which is where I play, there's always enough people to do whatever you want, basically. As far as the updates go, it's a little bit all over the place, because they've switched from smaller, more consistent updates to bigger, more bombastic updates that release few times throughout the year. These updates also vary in their size. Sometimes they introduce a whole new play area, sometimes a new open world, there's usually a new quest in there, new items, whether it be warframes or weapons or even companions. Though the content sometimes suffers from the content island problem, where it feels a bit detached from the base game, so when the update does come out, you're playing the update and not necessarily the game. You just do your stuff in the new place, you farm all the things, and then you're kind of done with it. This isn't too bad though, because oftentimes they will sort of try to weave it into the game in some way, shape or form, even if it's later down the line. And it also, I think, allows the largest number of people to jump in right away, rather than having a ton of prerequisites that you have to deal with everywhere else. So the updates are usually pretty accessible. And as far as the amount of relevant content in the game, well, that's highly subjective. Warframe is a looter shooter, but unlike something like Borderlands, where you shoot a thing drops gun, now you have better gun to shoot other things with, Warframe does basically everything through crafting. So you get a blueprint, whether it is from the market, from the clan dojo research, or as a drop, and then you head out onto the star chart to farm the resources to build the thing, whether it's a gun, a melee weapon, or a frame, or even a companion. So most of the farming in Warframe is focused around resources. Now, the way that generally works is every planet on the star chart has a specific set of resources that will drop there. Some common, some uncommon, some rare. Though there are of course some special resources that you get in other ways, like from bounties in the open world or even from bosses. The one exception to this are primed items, which are kind of like better upgraded versions of regular items, and you farm these by opening relics. Now, relics are an item that you get by doing most things in the game, and there are 4 different tiers of them that are relevant for farming primed items. There are Lith, which you get from doing the lowest level content, Meso and Neo, which you get from mid level content, and Axii, which you get from high level content. And yes, you're not always going to be doing the highest level stuff. Sometimes you're gonna go to a lower level mission to get the right relic or even the right resource. There are also multiple different types of each relic, so if you get a Lith relic, it's not just a Lith relic, it's gonna be a Lith H2 relic or a Lith M1 relic. And this is because each relic has 6 different potential items that you can get when you open it in a special Fisher mission. So there are like multiple steps to farming primed items, right? You first need to farm the right relics, then you need to open the relics and get the right parts, and then you can finally use those parts to build a primed item. Now the amount of, let's just call it content time, this will provide for you depends on what you want to do. Do you just want to get the best things, or do you want to be like me and a lot of other people and get all the things? Because in that case, it's going to provide significantly more enjoyment for you as you farm all the different things. Over the years, I've noticed that most people that play Warframe for an extended period of time tend to go the second route and just get all the things. Because that's essentially what the game is about, getting all the things and having fun while doing so. And I feel this is because the progression in Warframe isn't necessarily vertical, but it's also not horizontal. You're gonna be steadily climbing up the power ladder, and every now and then you will get a nice power spike. But just because something is harder to get or you get it later on doesn't necessarily mean it's better than a thing that you got earlier. Now, getting all the things is of course not the only thing to do in Warframe. Warframe also has a ton of quests, a lot of cinematic ones as well, and they're very cool. They're not your typical sort of MMO quest where you go and collect 5 bear asses for some random gnome in a village under a tree. They're a lot more thought out and tell a story. Basically, if there is a quest, there's a reason for that quest being there. We don't get random filler quests in Warframe. Now, for me personally, the biggest draw of Warframe, aside from collecting all the things and doing fun quests every now and then, is the combat. Warframe, I believe, still has the best third-person shooter combat of any game. It's fast, it's frantic, and it's satisfying as hell. It's also very diverse. We have hundreds of different guns, some of which are very strange, and around like 50 Warframes at this point, which are kind of like the different classes that you can play. There are so many goddamn guns in this game that you could pick a different gun every day and not use the same gun twice for over a year. Now, some of them are of course similar. We have many different types of shotguns, rifles, sniper rifles, and yada yada yada. But I think you get my point. There's a lot of variety when it comes to combat. But this is something that you have to try out for yourself, which is why I would recommend you simply give Warframe a shot. It is a free-to-play game at the end of the day, so it doesn't cost you anything to simply try it out. Now, I could go on and list all the different things you can do in Warframe, like Eidolon bosses, Spider Orb bosses, Kuva Liches, Sisters of Parvos, Railjack, A-Driving, Index, Rathum, and all that kind of stuff, but that probably won't tell you much about the game if you've never played it before. I could even do the same thing about the different game modes, like Extermination, Capture, Defense, Mobile Defense, Interception, Excavation, Survival, Disruption, but again, it doesn't really mean anything if you've never played the game before without proper explanation, and explaining the entirety of Warframe would make this video 78 hours long. So what I'm gonna say instead is that Warframe is a game that's still updated by a very passionate team. It has a ton of guns, ludicrous amount of content, and a lot of quests. And I think it's absolutely worth playing, or at least trying out, in 2022. And as always guys, I thank you very much for watching, I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.